It's time for the news.
Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. In today's top stories, President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has extended his sincere congratulations to the Algerian workers on the occasion of the International Labour Day, which falls on May 1st of each year. Algeria has deplored the deafening and unacceptable inaction of the UN Security Council in the face of the tragedy suffered by the Palestinian people in Gaza. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has warned that the two-state solution to the Palestinian question is near a point of no return. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Semeni. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has extended his sincere congratulations to Algerian workers on the occasion of International Labour Day, which coincides with the 1st of May of each year. Asia Bekar has more in this report.
The President of the Republic said May 1st is an opportunity to renew Algeria's commitment to stay on the path of nation building, which was laid down by the forefathers, martyrs, war veterans, activists, and all those loyal to the nation to preserve the independence of decision-making, the nation's capabilities and wealth. He added that this day comes while Algeria is still determined to continue strengthening the gains achieved for workers, embodying the commitments to unprecedented increases in workers' salaries, compensation systems, retirement and pension grants, and also a significant reduction in taxes. These are the gains that will be strengthened in accordance with the commitments taken by the President. This occasion is a renewed opportunity, he said, for Algerians to remember. The President said this occasion is a renewed opportunity to remember the sacrifices of the revolutionary heroes during the blessed glorious revolution. The President said the highly educated youth are able to harness intelligence and technology to integrate into entrepreneurship in a way that boosts economic activity in the experiences of emerging countries. He then congratulated workers on the International Workers' Day, wishing them success wherever they are in all sectors and in various activities that produce wealth and development in our country.
Now, the Minister of War, Veterans and Rights Holders, Lê Darbia, has taken part in the city of Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam in a ceremony commemorating the 50th anniversary of the liberation of South Vietnam and the unification of the country at the invitation of the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Vietnam. On this occasion, the minister took part in a dinner held by the President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Mr. Darbia met with the Vietnamese president and conveyed to him the brotherly greetings of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his congratulations to the state and people of Vietnam, as well as his wishes for progress and prosperity. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Planning and Special Envoy of the President of the Republic of Iraq, Mohammed Ali Tamim, who presented him with an invitation to attend the forthcoming Arab League summit in Baghdad. Following his meeting with the President of the Republic, the Special Envoy of the Iraqi President told the press that he had delivered an official invitation for the Algerian President to attend the Arab Summit in Baghdad on May 17 and conveyed greetings from the Iraqi President and Prime Minister, expressing hope to welcome him soon in Baghdad.
I had the honor today to meet His Excellency the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. I was the bearer of an invitation to participate in the Arab Summit scheduled to take place in Baghdad on May 17th, God willing. I also conveyed the greetings of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Iraq, as well as those of His Excellency the Prime Minister, to His Excellency the President of Algeria, while earnestly inviting him to attend this summit. By the grace of God, we will have the pleasure of seeing him soon in Baghdad to take part in the Arab Summit.
The meeting would reaffirm the strength of Algerian-Iraqi relations and underscored both countries' commitment to enhancing Arab cooperation ahead of the upcoming summit. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has also received a telephone call from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iraq, Abbas Araghchi. On this occasion, the two parties discussed the meeting held by the United Nations Security Council on the negotiation process relating to Iran's nuclear program. The statement said, adding that Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf was informed by his Iranian counterpart of the latest developments in this context, particularly following the third round and in anticipation of the fourth round of indirect negotiations under the auspices of the Sultanate of Oman. The two ministers also exchanged views on the developments in the Palestinian question against a backdrop of a continuing Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territories, and in the absence of any prospect for an end to this despicable aggression and the enshrinement of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to establish their independent and sovereign state with Al-Quds as its capital. Mr. Ahmed Attaf also received a telephone call from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of India, Subramanyam Jaishankar. This telephone conversation, the statement said, provided opportunity to examine bilateral relations between the two countries and ways of strengthening them in the light of the results of the state visit paid by the President of the Republic of India to Algeria in October 2024 and in anticipation of forthcoming bilateral events, notably the meeting of the Algerian-Indian Joint Governmental Commission. As you followed in our top stories, Algeria has deplored the deafening silence and unacceptable inaction of the UN Security Council in the face of the tragedy suffered by the Palestinian people in Gaza, saying that the lack of accountability and double standards encouraged the Zionist Israeli occupation to continue its campaign of genocide. Masoud Shafi has more in this report.
Speaking at a Security Council meeting devoted to the situation in the Middle East, notably the Palestinian question, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama, said that this meeting represents a break with the deafening silence of this council, this unacceptable inaction for more than a year in the face of the tragedy experienced by the Palestinians. He also added that the sustained efforts of the UN Secretary General to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people, while deeply appreciated by Algeria, have unfortunately not shaken the stubbornness of the occupier.
These efforts, while deeply appreciated, have regrettably not shaken the intransigence of the Israeli occupying power, which remains determined to pursue its ongoing deadly campaign. A campaign of genocide, a campaign of ethnic cleansing, a campaign of collective punishment and of systematic destruction of Palestinian life and livelihood. Worse still, the international community and this very Security Council failed to extend the level of support required to make this effort impactful.
Ammar bin Jama said the absence of collective action and accountability, as well as double standards, have encouraged the occupier to act with impunity.
The absence of collective action, the lack of accountability, and the double standards have emboldened the Israeli occupier to act with total impunity, total immunity. Today, we find ourselves at a critical juncture, and we must ask ourselves, when will our word be translated into action? When will the resolution of this very Security Council be finally enforced? When will international law cease to be a tool selectively applied? When will the dignity, the rights, humanity of the Palestinian people finally be respected?
The Algerian ambassador also stressed that the deliberate targeting of Palestinian civilians on the orders of the highest Zionist political and military authorities is clear and well documented, adding that this is not collateral damage, but rather a policy that calls for accountability and justice.
The deliberate targeting of Palestinian civilians under the direction of the highest political and military Israeli authorities is evident. It is well documented. This is not collateral damage. It is a policy. These are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity, and they necessitate accountability and justice. Mr. President, international humanitarian organizations confirm that Gaza is experiencing now the worst humanitarian catastrophe since October 2023.
He also added that the situation in the occupied West Bank was just as worrying, given that colonial expansion was continuing at an unbridled pace, destroying entire communities, and that armed settler militias, protected by the occupation army, were attacking Palestinian families, burning homes, agricultural fields, and places of worship, in addition to forcibly evicting Palestinians in broad daylight. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into military zones, and arbitrary arrests, house demolitions, and raids have become a daily occurrence.
During the meeting on the Palestinian situation, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that the two-state solution to the Palestinian question is near a point of no return. The details with Amina Borisha.
In remarks to the UN Security Council open debate on the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question, Guterres said the region is undergoing fundamental shifts, marked by violence and volatility, but also opportunity and potential, and truly sustainable Middle East peace hinge on one central question: a two-state solution living side by side in peace and security with Jerusalem as the capital of both states. But the promise of a two-state solution today is at risk of dwindling to the point of disappearance, and the political commitment to this long-standing goal is farther than it has ever been.
Today, the promise of a two-state solution is at risk of dwindling to the point of disappearance. The political commitment to this long-standing goal is farther than it has ever been. As a result, the rights of both Israelis and Palestinians to live in peace and security have been undermined, and the legitimate national aspirations of the Palestinians have been denied, while they endure Israel's continued presence that the International Court of Justice has found unlawful. Settler violence continues at alarmingly high levels in a climate of impunity, with the entire Palestinian communities facing repeated assaults and destruction, sometimes abetted by Israeli soldiers.
Nothing that he was alarmed by statement by Israeli government officials about the use of humanitarian aid as a tool for military pressure. The UN chief emphasized that there must be no hindrance in humanitarian aid, including through the vital work of UNRWA.
The humanitarian situation throughout the Gaza Strip has gone from bad to worse to beyond imagination. For nearly 2 full months, Israel has blocked food, fuel, medicine, and commercial supplies, depriving more than 2 million people of life-saving relief, all while the world watches. I am alarmed by statements by Israeli government officials about the use of humanitarian aid as a tool for military pressure. Aid is non-negotiable. Israel must protect civilians and must agree to relieve shims and facilitate them.
He underlined that the international community has a responsibility to prevent brutal occupation and violence, and called on UN member states to take irreversible action towards implementing a two-state solution.
At the meeting for his part, the European Union representative has said that the Israeli occupation authorities must fully comply with its obligations under international law, reiterating the EU's support for UNRWA's efforts to provide assistance to the Palestinians.
The EU is deeply concerned about reoccurring incidents resulting in the death of humanitarian aid workers and calls for accountability. Unimpeded humanitarian aid access and distribution, as well as the supply of electricity to Gaza, must be resumed immediately. Israel must fully comply with its obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law, in all circumstances. The EU reiterates the importance of ensuring the protection of civilians, including humanitarian workers, as well as civilian infrastructure, including medical facilities, schools, and UN premises. In this vein, the EU reiterates its commitment to a comprehensive, just and lasting peace based on the two-state solution. The launch of the Global Alliance was an important step to demonstrate this commitment. The EU will spare no effort to help revive a political process in partnership with international partners. A credible pathway to Palestinian statehood is a crucial component to that process. The EU also remains committed to its support to UNRWA, which provides crucial support to the Palestinians.
That was the European Union representative at the UN Security Council. The public hearings of the International Court of Justice (ICJ) devoted to oral arguments regarding the request of an advisory opinion on the obligations of the Israeli occupation concerning the activities of the UN, international organizations and third states in the occupied Palestinian territories continued on Wednesday for the third consecutive day in The Hague, Netherlands. The ICJ began these hearings on Monday, while the Israeli occupier has maintained for over 50 days a total blockade preventing the delivery of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, which has been devastated by a genocidal aggression since October 2023. The Palestinian Ministry of Education and Higher Education has reported that 14,784 students have been killed and 24,766 others have been injured since the start of the Zionist aggression on Gaza and the West Bank on October 7, 2023. Said Bouazi has more.
The Palestinian Ministry also highlighted that 880 teachers and administrative staff have been killed and around 4,247 others have been injured across both Gaza and the West Bank. It said that more than 193 educational staff members have also been detained in the West Bank. Furthermore, 352 government schools have sustained severe damage due to the Israeli aggression, including the complete destruction of 111 schools. In addition, 91 government schools and 89 UNRWA schools have been subjected to bombing and vandalism. Additionally, 20 higher education institutions have been heavily damaged, with 60 university buildings completely destroyed. In the West Bank, 146 schools and 8 universities have been raided and vandalized, and the walls of several schools in Jenin, Tulkarem and Tubas have been destroyed. The ministry also reported that the Zionist authorities have issued a warning regarding the closure of UNRWA schools in Jerusalem on May 8th. The ministry emphasized that 788,000 students in Gaza remain unable to attend their schools and universities since the start of the aggression, with many students suffering from psychological trauma and facing challenging health conditions.
You are still listening to Radio Algeria International. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has called on the international community to put an end to the humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli occupation is carrying out a savage aggression against the Palestinian people and preventing international aid from reaching them. More with Masoud Sharfi.
In his press release, Mr. Turk urged that international efforts were needed to prevent the humanitarian catastrophe from worsening. He stressed that third states were obliged under international law to stop such conduct and bring those responsible to justice, emphasizing that using starvation or collective punishment against civilians constituted a war crime. Mr. Turk also noted that the Zionist entity controlled the flow of aid to Gaza and had halted deliveries on 2nd March, shortly before the ceasefire came into effect after 15 months of aggression. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights reported that bakeries in the Gaza Strip had now ceased to operate, with flour and fuel running out, while remaining food stocks were rapidly dwindling. The High Commissioner for Human Rights also denounced the continued strikes by the Zionist army on places in the Gaza Strip where civilians had taken shelter. Between March 18th and April 27th, the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said it had recorded 259 attacks on residential buildings and 99 attacks on tents housing displaced persons. Most of them were killed. Volker Turk deplored the continued targeting of civilian property essential to the survival of the population, such as tankers carrying water and the excavators needed to remove the debris.
Iranian Foreign Minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi has said that the fourth round of the Omani-mediated indirect nuclear talks between Iran and the United States will be held in Rome on Saturday. Amina Borisha has more.
Araghchi made the remarks on the sidelines of a cabinet meeting in Tehran while responding to questions about the ongoing talks with the United States on Tehran's nuclear program and Washington's sanctions. He noted that Oman, as the talks host, has decided to hold the fourth round in Rome due to technical and logistical reasons. The Iranian foreign minister stated that the location Oman selected to host the negotiations was of no particular importance to Iran. Commenting on the U.S. measures such as the imposition of fresh sanctions against Iran despite the ongoing negotiations, he noted that such actions would definitely convey a negative message. Araghchi noted that the International Atomic Energy Agency currently played no role in the negotiations, but will play an important role in the future if an agreement is reached. The first and third rounds of the indirect talks between Iran and the United States, headed by the Iranian Foreign Minister and U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, were held in the Omani capital Muscat on April 12 and 26, and the second one in Rome on April 19.
April marks the International Month of Autism, a global campaign dedicated to raising awareness, promoting inclusion, and advancing the rights of people with autism. Around the world, individuals, communities, and organizations are coming together to highlight the challenges and achievements of those in the autism spectrum, while calling for greater understanding and support. Next is a program on autism.